into Kanchipuram, and there are 3 huge temples about 20 miles outside from Kanchipuram, because it's a desolate place again, it's just lowland. And from there, with the zoom lens, we could get these 3 temple tops sprouting up into the air. But when we reached the village, and they could see by the dress, and we had come in a car and we were carrying cameras and all that, and we tried to find out which of those 3 Hindu temples had been a Buddhist temple before. People got very upset. And we had to get into the car and very diplomatically, delicately, but in a quick way, leave the area. I think because, word of mouth spreads things very quickly. See, foreigners are coming, foreigners are doing this thing, that thing, and then they'll uproot the car and break our cameras and all that. Because there people get excited very quickly. So we left the area. They say that Brahmanism was there and the Brahmins felt that their power was losing, so ultimately they reconverted some of these Buddhist temples to Hindu temples, consecrated them back into Hindu temples. And so even now they don't want Buddhism to crop up again, except as a tourist thing, that's fine, it's going to go on. But as a religion coming up again, they don't want it, they don't like it. I was brought up, like I said, Catholic. I've studied Islam, I studied Hinduism, etc. I feel I like Buddhism the easiest, the most, the nicest, because for one simple reason is it is not confrontational. Christian, the religion, Hindu religion, Islam, etc. have all had wars and fights and all sorts of things going on. You don't find that in Buddhism. And I am wondering, how many Christians are there here before you all start throwing stones or throw a stick at me or something? Okay, 2 Christians. 2 of them. Okay, I can handle you all. Okay, what I feel is, and if you study these religions, you'll find it very funny again, like in cultures, religions also have a lot of similarity. Buddha went off into the desert and fasted for a number of days, during which time he was also tempted by the devil. Christianity also says the same thing, which came 5 centuries later, that before Jesus went during the period of Lent, he went and fasted for 40 days, and during that time also he was tempted by the devil. These similarities now make me ask the question, which can make many people quite angry, but remember, have a cold drink before you throw something at me. Which religion followed religion, or who was copying whom from where? And these are questions we can only ask ourselves to get at the truth. I'm not trying to say Christianity is better or Christianity is worse, or Buddhism is better, Buddhism is worse. In my opinion, from what I've studied, Buddhism seems to be the calmest religion. Jainism is there, and Jainism is even more calm. They'll drive you quite crazy, because even if an ant crawls on him and bites him, he will not kill the ant, he will push it away gently. Because for them, life is life. Life is very important. And even in the diets, they will not take any roots that are grown below ground, etc. No onions to excite them, etc. So each religion has its own good and bad points, and you have to take what you think is the best for you to adapt, and then adapt it to yourself. So I know the school where I studied, where I, at the age of 14, almost became a priest. I studied in a Catholic school. And my father got into a temper with the principal because I was the only son, so he didn't want me to be a priest. He wanted me to have sons and children and whatever. But see where I have come after 63 years of life, and if I live a few years longer, most probably I'll change all over again to something else. So it all depends upon how much you study, how much you are inquisitive, without becoming fanatical. I don't think it is right for anyone, Islam or Christians or whatever, to say we are the only religion, we are the only God, etc., etc. Because there is too much in the world now. To give you an idea, I was in charge of the Theosophical Society in Madras in India for security. And on the northern border, which bordered the sea, there were a lot of casuarina trees. And I said, let's clear about 20 feet inside the fence of these casuarina trees, so that the security guys will have good visual situation to look at. And it was very funny, there was an uproar literal from the older generation of Theosophists. And I said, what happened? And one of the older guys came to me and said, you idiot, do you know that each tree has some spirits living in it? And I looked at him and I said, now has this guy been on spirits, or what is he talking about? And he says, no, there are spirits living on trees, And before you cut down a tree, you have to do a special puja or religious ceremony to let the spirits know the tree is going to be cut, and so they can go and find another place. Reminds me of the situation I am in now. I'm in transit. I'm searching for a room for myself. So the spirits were there. So when I went home in the evening, there was an older generation gentleman next to me, very old, very learned. And I said, "Uncle, can you believe this nonsense? They say there are spirits in trees." And he told me, "Don't think because what your mind, which is so small, understands, that it can understand the whole world. So there is a lot of things that are still have to be explained, still have to be understood before we can really understand it." And then he said, "Take your Bible. If you go through the Bible, how many times is the word spirit mentioned in the Bible? So there are spirits." So after that I became kind of scared of the bogeyman. And now Halloween, I guess I will stay inside my house and behave myself. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead, ma'am. Ladies first.
You made a trip to Shaolin Monastery.
Right.
And you obviously had a special interest in, his name in Chinese is Daruma.
Damo, right. And in Japan, actually, where Zen Buddhism is concerned, he is called Daruma.
Did you hear about his special contribution to Buddhism as well as to martial art in that monastery?
Right. Now basically he taught them Chan Buddhism, like I said initially, and in teaching them Chan Buddhism and a lot of meditative practices, he found that they were tying up their circulatory systems, because sitting for hours in that meditative pose, during which time he was lecturing about Mahayana Buddhism. And since you're taking notes, he concentrated a lot, and that again brings me to the idea that I'm sure he touched Sri Lanka, because his theory was based on the Lankavatara Sutra. Like you have the Heart Sutra and other sutras, his speciality was the Lankavatara Sutra. He had 4 disciples, amongst one which was a woman. And when he handed the bowl and the robe on, passing the hierarchy on to the next monk, Hyuki, he also gave him a copy of the Lankavatara Sutra. So he taught them religion, and he taught them the martial arts. The martial arts came second. It is religion which came first, because that is what he went to China for. So in the book also I divided into 2 kind of parts. One is touching on the religious aspect, and one is touching on the martial art aspect.
Right. The religious aspect, you were talking about meditation and blood circulation. What was his new teaching? Okay, his teaching was what you call a sudden awakening. That means you do long hours of meditation trying to empty the mind, so that when the sudden awakening takes place, all the knowledge comes in one blow rather than in bits and pieces, like the Buddha did. And that's why he went off into this cave. And I would suggest, if you can climb to that mountain, I'm sure you're all more physical fit than I am, to go and stand there and see. There's another place I saw like that in Africa, in Tanzania. We stood on this little hilltop of about 200 feet. Miles in front of us, desolate land, desolate shrubs and rocks and this and that. Not a person had lived there. And in that portion of land, they can't tell you the exact place, about 40 years ago, a lady called Mary Leakey, an anthropologist, whose son is now the animal minister